TRT World's analyst for Turkey, Yusuf Erim, joins me now here in Istanbul. Yusuf, what does this agreement mean for Idlib? We have some 2.9 million people who have been on edge for weeks, anticipating this imminent full-scale attack. So what does it mean for them now?
It's a huge development. It means a lot for them. And we're talking about 2.9 million people, 2.9 million lives. And this agreement could quite possibly have saved 2.9 million lives. It's a huge diplomatic victory, not just for Turkey and President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. It's a huge diplomatic victory for Russia and Russian President Vladimir Putin as well. I mean, they have been able to avert a huge humanitarian disaster, one that could have caused great migrant flows, sparked a refugee crisis, could have put a lot of pressure on Europe as well as Turkey migrant-wise. And they've been able to avert this with this agreement. So it's very important for Idlib. The people there, the 2.9 million people there, are going to be able to rest easy tonight. They're going to be able to wake up comfortably tomorrow morning, knowing that there's not going to be an offensive coming from the regime.
HTS, formerly known as al-Nusra, was the regime's purported target for its offensive. Could this deal be derailed if they don't agree to leave the area, and who will persuade them?
Now, when we look at the foreign actors in the region, Russia, Iran, Turkey, and the U.S., there's one common denominator amongst them as a terror target, and that's HTS. So everyone views the HTS as a terror group. So yes, they can derail this agreement if they might try to cause a problem. But now that you have Russia and Turkey working together against the HTS, you have them standing together for peace, I highly doubt the HTS is going to be able to create big problems for these two countries. Also, there's grumblings inside the HTS. They're not as cohesive as they were. There are many who want to join these Turkish-backed opposition groups. So we're going to have to see how strong they can stand together, or will Turkey be able to dissolve them and disband them going forward?
You mentioned some of the other players there in Syria. Where does this deal leave Iran?
Now, when you look at this deal from an Iranian standpoint, Iran has achieved many of the goals they wanted to in Syria. Their main goal was keeping Assad in power. And while Assad may have not won the conflict, Assad has achieved his political survival, at least for the foreseeable future. And this is important for Iran. Iran also has a great deal of U.S. sanctions coming up not next month, but in November. The war has become very costly for them. So they're taking this as a win for Assad. The buffer zone that will protect the opposition also works both ways. It's also a buffer zone that keeps the opposition away from Assad as well. And Assad can now turn his concentration on maybe rebuilding his country. He can maybe turn his concentration on east of the Euphrates. There's Deir ez-Zor, where most of Syria's oil is. There's a big U.S. occupation over there, an SDF occupation there, which is making him uncomfortable. So he can turn his concentration on to these other issues at hand.
Of course, this deal has just been announced in the last few hours, but how do you think the international community will react to this?
I think the international community is very, very happy with the deal. Most of all, the EU, because Idlib was a problem that Idlib was something that could have sparked a major problem for the EU. Anything that would have moved 2.9 million people, displaced 2.9 million people, and created migrant flows. These migrants, besides Turkey, their next destination would be Europe. And Europe has had severe problems with migrant flows, and this deal puts them at ease. So they are definitely happy with this deal. And later on in the month, there's going to be another very important meeting putting together Russia, Turkey, Germany, and France. So we will probably see a trickle down from this deal with Germany and France probably acting more warmly towards Russia and listening to what Russia's needs in Syria as well.
All right, Yusuf Erim, thank you for your insight into this today.